This is Inside Town Hall, a behind-the-scenes look at city government and the issues affecting you and your family.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Inside Town Hall. I'm your host, Madeline Shields. Every few months, we invite in city councilors to visit with a roundtable discussion. And joining me today are Marshall Selberg, Christine Erickson, Michelle Erpenbach, and Pat Starr. Thanks for joining us for Inside Town Hall. Thank you. The South Dakota legislative session is now underway. Let's talk a little bit about what the Sioux Falls City Council would like to see happen in the legislative session this year. Who wants to start?
You know, just kind of the umbrella comment is always that we're working with the South Dakota Municipal League in terms of local control issues, and we want to make sure that municipal taxes and municipal issues remain the way that they are, that they work for our citizens. But there are a couple things that we've been talking about as a council that are pretty critical too.
One of those items is the state radio system. That system was put in place after the Spencer tornado happened, when people just a few feet from each other couldn't communicate. And so at that time, they wanted to make sure that didn't ever happen again, and we had this state radio system that all cities, counties, agencies really participate in. And we've even here in Sioux Falls talked across state lines to Minnesota when there's been issues across the state lines. And so the thing that we want to really focus on is making sure that that system is up to date, and that system, as technology changes so often, it's about time. It's time to have that conversation. It's time to really start putting that issue to the front and making sure that that system stays top notch.
Was it a problem with towers back then, and has it improved over the years as technology has improved?
Actually, Madeline, it was that the Sioux Falls City Police had their own radio, and then if they went to Spencer, in that case, one county would have a radio system, a different county would have a different radio system. It was literally that fractured, and the governor at that time, Governor Janklow, decided that didn't work, and obviously it didn't. And it has worked really well for us. The sort of talk on the street now is that the system is old enough that we're buying parts on eBay. They don't make those kinds of things anymore. I don't know if that's kind of an exaggeration, but I think we're really getting to that point where the state has to be involved with funding this new system.
We're getting to the point where we're at a break fix. So as some radios and maybe other communities that haven't updated their radios over time, as those break, we're able to use parts from those and fix other ones. And so the conversations have started with Motorola to make sure that there's a new system out that really is the federal standard. It's this P25, and across the nation, other states are adapting this. And as you know, costs always are going up, and so does it make sense to do it right now this year, or does it make sense to continue to kind of piecemeal it together? And there are issues with piecemealing it together because new sites won't be able to be added at a certain point, and so we want to be mindful of that too. It's a lot of money, but Motorola is offering a great deal with some stipulations to the state, and I think it's really something we should take advantage of for the good of the whole state.
Yeah, the ability to upgrade cannot be supported after next year, I believe, right? Correct? Yeah.
So according to the documents in front of me, that system would be about $15.2 million. It would increase the communication capability across the entire state, but Motorola is giving some kind of upgrade breaks. It would be about $21 million over 7 years that they would give a loan to. Does Sioux Falls have to pay, and do other municipalities have to pitch in for this, or is this just for the state?
It is a cooperative system, and so everybody shares in the cost, but the core piece and the core equipment is a state project. That's why we call it the state radio system. So part of it is the concern on the part of the governor's office is that it's such a dramatic expense for the state. And so in my mind, and it's not something that we're to that point yet, but that's why we're pushing and encouraging the legislature to talk about this, to think a little differently about it. Maybe we do have to pitch in somehow as municipalities, or maybe there's some sort of leeway, but it's one of those things that it's critical enough that this council has been adamant that we be a part of it, that it start to change now, that we get this conversation on the table and make it happen.
And this loan is a no-interest loan, so you can't really do better than those kind of terms. So again, the timing's right.
We want to make sure it's done when there's not a break point where there's a disaster and here we go, I guess we have to do it now. We don't want to get to that point. We want to be proactive enough to where we're upgrading the system and making those changes. And as we've met with legislators, we've talked about this issue and we've brought it to the forefront. And many of them have been in conversations with counties and Metro 911 as well as the governor's office. And so we're hopeful that this can continue to carry on through the legislative session.
Okay.
I think that's one of those things, as I jump in, that Councilor Erickson makes a really good point, is this council has really done a good job of working with our local legislators before session, during the summer, during the spring, after session, that those lines of communications are open, rather than when we want something or we want to kill a bill or we're in the middle of the process of what we're doing, that we can really send them with a lot of information of what's important to the city as they represent the citizens of Sioux Falls.
Okay.
That's true.
And are there other topics that you're looking forward to discussing with the legislators?
I'm a member of the Metro Management Council, the Metro 911 group, and it's a joint city and county governing board. The Metro Management Council is. One of the biggest concerns for that organization is the 911 surcharge, and it's set to sunset in 2018. That it was originally set at less than $1, and now right now it's at $1.25, and that at least 25 cents of it would drop off in the sunset. And so it's our hope that it would be, that the legislature would make it a permanent fee the way that it is. It's one of those things that really, as a cell phone owner, we all have them, our home phones, whatever. It's not a fee that we really even notice anymore. It's just part of doing business. But to have that sunset happen, to knock that quarter even off of each of our bills, is a dramatic impact on that local 911 budget, and it can make a difference in the kind of services that we have in emergency situations. And so that's one that we're going to push really hard with the legislature as we keep that surcharge in place.
And that's a statewide 25 cent charge for all 911.
Right.
Whatever county it goes to.
Right. Technically, every phone line is supposed to have that charge on it. There have been issues with that too, which would be a whole nother half-hour program. But each phone has that, and you can see it on your bill. You know, you can go through your bill and find it. But it goes to that specific whatever area your phone is coming through.
Explain what a sunset is.
You know, is that a South Dakota term or is that a legislative term?
I think it's a legislative term.
I've always thought it was kind of like hog house in South Dakota, that sunset is one of those things. But sunset law is set to go down at a certain time. And so this one's set to sunset in 2018.
So I guess my question would be is that, do they put this restriction on it that it's going to go away so that they can get it passed at the time?
Yeah.
But then don't we always become dependent on that fee as you move forward?
Isn't it usually a compromising tool to get it through the legislature?
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Oftentimes it is. Yeah. You know, tourism, the additional tourism tax was set to sunset, and that sunset was removed and is now permanent. And that's another example of, you know, you kind of put it on in hopes to get it passed, and it feels good to know it's going to fall off at one time, but you do rely on those dollars then that come in. And, you know, basic function of government is when I call 911, boy, I want to make sure that they show up. And, you know, and the same thing with communication for state radio. That's a basic function of government, to keep those safeguards in, and so that's something that this council has supported.
Now the city council gets together and decides what your main priorities are when it comes to the legislative session. Does it ever happen that things change or that other things come up? And do you see anything else that is a priority for the city of Sioux Falls that might come up this year?
You know, Councilor Erickson is our representative on the Municipal League. She serves on their board, so we have a pretty tight communication with that group.
Mm-hmm. And with the Municipal League, the Sioux Falls City Council comes up with our core things that we want to put forward, and we vote on it in a resolution. And so we've got 9 or 10 different items on there. Those items are all within the Municipal League, and that is pages of of defensive language as well as proactive language, statements of support, things. It really gives the guidelines to the Municipal League as they represent Sioux Falls and other municipalities during the legislative session. Again, some of them are defensive, meaning, keep local control here. We support our tax dollars staying here and us making those decisions for the good of our people here instead of relinquishing some of that local control. And you'll see with our statements, we also really are heavy on supporting the county. We really want to partner with the county. It's a kind of a delicate relationship between, we do a really good job of arresting people here in Sioux Falls and then we send them through the county. And so that relationship, we want to be mindful of that as well and support the county for their needs. You have different pots of money and if we can help the county in any way as well, that's important.
Well, for some of the items that are important to Sioux Falls, they probably are those that are important to even smaller towns that may not have the representation that Sioux Falls has. For instance, tea, or is that, do you work with those smaller towns surrounding Sioux Falls as well? As part of the Municipal League?
We do. During our board meetings, there's representation from across the whole state. And we meet a few times a year and we'll get together and head out for the legislative session as well and attend a few committee meetings as well as host the legislators for a dinner. And it's really about that relationship building. So when a bill does come up, each of us can contact somebody that we have built that friendship and relationship with and saying, this is a really good deal, or what are you doing? Type of attitude. And so it's good to have those relationships. And that's something that is done statewide with other municipalities too, making sure that they are building those relationships with their legislators.
Okay. Well, and we will come hear more, I'm sure, about what's going on in the legislative session as the months go on. At this time, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about a citizen survey you might be getting in your mailbox. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, Dr. Score here from Falls Community Health. It's that time of year again and time to get your annual flu shot. Influenza causes thousands of deaths per year, many of which are preventable by this vaccine. A common misconception is that the flu shot can cause the flu, but this is completely untrue. The flu vaccine itself is inactive. Any discomfort you feel afterwards is your body's reaction to the shot, preparing it to fight illness. Please get your annual flu vaccination. This is available at any hospital, clinic, or pharmacy near you.
Welcome back to Inside Town Hall, where we are having a roundtable discussion about what's happening in the city of Sioux Falls. Joining me is Marshall Selberg, Christine Erickson, Michelle Erpenbach, and Pat Starr. Let's move our attention to a national citizen survey. Citizens of Sioux Falls may get a survey in the mail. What's the survey all about?
Well, I believe 3,000 are randomly selected, and it's kind of a wide variety of questions where we try to get a pulse of, the city tries to get a pulse from citizens of what's important to them, what they feel is working, what they feel should be better. And again, I think those have gone out about now. If they haven't already, people should be getting them soon, and then the results come in around April. So, but it's a good tool for both the mayor's office, the city council, everybody involved with city government to kind of look at the results and see what we can do to improve.
Okay.
Well, I think it is, the National Citizen Survey is so important to our community. We've always gotten great response from a marketing standpoint. I mean, we're over 30% of the people who get the survey respond, which is huge. But the information is so vital to what we're doing as a community. I always say as a council, sometimes we get bogged down in the day-to-day issues of zoning and different things. This gives us that chance to look at the bigger picture of what's important to the citizens, but to also look into the future of where we get a chance to dream and how we can make the city better 20 years from now. I always joke with my friends that it's, what am I going to be in the nursing home? What am I going to say that I was part of that is so neat, and how did that happen? It happens now. The reason Sioux Falls is a successful community is because of the things that were done 20 and 30 years ago that we're benefiting from. I want to make sure, and I know my fellow councilors feel the same way, that in the future we want to be able to look back and say we were part of that, and that's why things are good now.
And it's randomly selected. There's about 3,000 citizens that receive this survey in the mail, and it's done by a research center done in Boulder, Colorado. Why is it important to have it done from an outside research center?
I think it's important just so it's a completely different person, a completely different non-department. We do have input as far as some of the open-ended questions, and we do get to change a little bit of it, but we have traditionally kept a lot of the questions the same so we can compare them statistically from year to year to see if there's if it's going up or if we need to improve. And so that's important to have that information come from an outside agency.
Well, it's a national survey, so we can compare our answers to the answers that they get from other communities. So we not only see Sioux Falls over a period of time, we did it the first time in 2008, we can see Sioux Falls in relationship to the other communities of our size or smaller, larger, those kinds of things on the exact same questions. So we can get that comparison.
And some of the questions are, what is your overall satisfaction for quality of life topics? They ask people to rate their neighborhood, whether or not they think this is a great place to live, whether it's a great place to retire. What do the results tell you as a city councilor once you get them?
The nice thing to see is a couple of those questions, is Sioux Falls an excellent place to live? How is your neighborhood? I mean, it's pretty consistently come back over the past couple of surveys, over 90% in those realms, and those are big ones, so that's nice. But then again, you see a couple items where people are looking for some improvement, from traffic flow to affordable housing. Is that positively rated? You get that around 50%, 60%. So yeah, again, you kind of, as you read down to the questions, the big ones we're getting good answers to, but there's improvements to be made for sure.
I think what's interesting is this gives us another tool, an objective tool as a city councilor, because we get inundated sometimes with emails from a small group, but it seems maybe it's a larger concern than it is. And oftentimes it is a large concern, but having that tool as a councilor from the National Citizen Survey, comparing to what I receive for emails, what I hear when I go to church or when I'm getting groceries or what are important to people, is this as big of an issue as a smaller group of people are saying that you interact with on a day-to-day basis? So being able to combine those tools and add an objective one tool in the toolbox really is very helpful as a member of the city council.
How many of these surveys do you expect to get back? If you send out about 3,000,
I believe we were just told probably 30% is what you can usually expect, but hopefully people are watching that are out there and that improves. We get some more in this year that goes up a bit.
30% is actually kind of a rock star number. Most communities don't get that high. And as Pat alluded to earlier, if you're doing like a marketing survey or those kinds of direct mail things, you're lucky to get a 3% return. So 30%, we get it consistently, pretty remarkable. But Councilor Selberg's right, we'd really like more people to respond to it. We need a broader section of folks.
What does that tell you about people who live in Sioux Falls if we get 30% back when the rest of the country is just getting maybe a single-digit numbers back? What does that say about our citizens?
We're happy to tell our elected leaders how we feel. We're very happy to do that as well. But like I was saying, I was kind of using that toolbox analogy. What's nice about this is that someone who wouldn't normally write an email with their name has an opportunity to provide input to their elected officials. I think that's why this survey is so important that we do it, that anonymity, and for people to understand that we don't code it, we don't do anything else, that it's totally anonymous and you get a chance to share how you feel. There are plenty of people who are happy to tell me how they feel, but there are some that would, that this gives them another opportunity to do that.
Do you think that comes from a place of optimism, that if somebody tells you something, that you actually might listen to them and do something about it?
Well, that they care enough to speak out, that's important,
But we can't make it better if you don't tell us. There's a lot of issues that come up that, we like to think we're involved in a lot of different things, and we see a lot of things, and we're all very observant people. We tour a lot of the facilities that the city has. But at the same time, if you don't share some of those things and it's something that we miss, this gives you that opportunity.
And I think it speaks volumes about our citizens as well, that they are engaged. Whether they're telling us that we're doing a great job or a poor job, they're engaged and that they really do care about the community and the surrounding community. That's really important.
Okay. Well, let's move on. We have some great news about our bus service here in Sioux Falls. Let's talk a little bit about who's riding and who's going to maybe be riding more.
Well, a couple years ago, I believe it was 2 summers ago, the City Council, with the help of a citizen, we were approached by a citizen, Kathy Brechtelsbauer, and she brought it forward with other youth, talking about the importance of youth moving about the city, whether they're going to the library, a job, the swimming pools, or just to get lunch. And so she really did a great job of pitching that to us, and we've done a pilot program for 2 years, 2 summers, and so just this past fall we decided as a council to make this a permanent program to allow youth a free bus pass. We call it the Freedom Pass, to be able to have a free bus pass to move around the city from when school gets out until school starts.
How do they qualify? And I know that you watched it over the last couple of summers. Did it improve from the first time the pilot program started the first summer to the second summer? Did more children get involved?
A tough part of measuring some of that is with the school year changing start and stop dates and moving those things around. But we saw the value in it happening, and it goes back to the National Citizens Survey. This came to us from the community. This came to us as something that we were able to do. We were able to listen to a concern and make a positive change. So to me, again, when we go back and both subjects overlap, but it's so important for young people to be able to have that opportunity. Their parents are, with such a high rate of both parents working in Sioux Falls, being able to get that maybe one meal a day that they have a chance to do that's nutritious and part of that. So the results are there and the people that we're helping, but it's also allowing young people to go to work or to be able to get back and forth from work, or just all the things that help out families to make Sioux Falls a better place to live.
Many of us grew up, as teenagers having cars, and if you lived in Sioux Falls, we're used to driving. Do you think by getting more younger people and teenagers before they're driving on the bus that they will use the bus more as adults?
I do. I think it'll pay dividends. I mean, the habits that they form now and getting used to using that, and when it's effective and gets them to their work and the activities that they're used to, I don't think that can help but carry over.
I talked to a high school the second time that this was going on, and in that conversation, they were mostly juniors and seniors, it was a summer school program that they were doing, and I talked about this program, and as I was talking about it, you could see the wheels turning with a few of them. And what they ended up doing is a few of them went and tried the bus system out that probably wouldn't normally do, that might go on to a different city to go to college and be able to feel comfortable knowing, okay, I kind of used this. They can come back, they can feel like they can use it again. And so it's kind of teaching the youth also how to use that system if they go to another community or just continue to use it here in Sioux Falls.
The reality is that as this community grows, that bus system is going to grow as well, and we know that the system, it's in transition now. We're kind of making changes to it, tweaking it as we know where the need is greater. The more riders we train up in this way, the quicker that process is going to move in terms of changing how, the effectiveness of that system. And so it's really one of those things that's going to benefit us in lots and lots of ways to be able to have these young people riding for free in the summer.
And we've taken that next step as a council, because in our budget process this year, Councilor Rolfing made sure there was some extra money that was dedicated specifically to teaching people how to use the bus. And so that pilot program this year is going to continue on what we're building from here, and having that opportunity to, because it is kind of scary the first couple of times. You don't know if you're going to get dropped off in the wrong place. We've all traveled and done that, whether we're in the metro in DC sometimes, and you're going, all right, I get off in the wrong place and I'm at the wrong hotel, and then I get a taxi to get me back to the right place. But there is getting over that stigma of just getting started, getting on the bus, and I encourage people to do it all the time.
Yeah, sure. You travel and you have no problems getting on a bus, but a lot of people here think, I don't know how to ride the bus here,
Yeah.
and it's intimidating.
Yeah, we're a car-driven society. We really are. Many of us grew up driving trucks in the fields for dad or whatever, and we all think we should drive our own cars. But the reality is that attitude has to change to a certain extent, especially in a metro area that's growing as quickly as this one is. And this is one way we can kind of help people kind of gradually grow into that.
Well, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us for this month's Inside Town Hall. If you would like to get a hold of any of our city councilors, you can reach them all through email or their telephone number at siouxfalls.org. And don't forget to fill out your citizen survey if you get one in the mail and send it back in the return envelope. Thanks for joining us for Inside Town Hall. We'll see you next time.